what we're looking at today is we're looking at equations with fractional coefficients. So what the heck does that mean? Basically, that means that what we're going to be doing is we've been working on these fractions before and getting common denominators and simplifying them. What we're going to do is we're going to be solving now when we have fractions, okay? So here's some just general tips that I've given you up here in the top box here to get some common denominators. First is to get common denominators, so make sure all the fractions have common denominators. Don't forget to fix the numerators once you've found the common denominators. So if you multiply the 2 to the bottom, don't forget to do that to the top. And my trick is that only when the directions say solve. So the key thing here is that when the directions say solve or when there's an equal sign in the problem, so if it's a solve or if you see an equal sign in the problem, there's a trick that if you can, once you've gotten all of the denominators to be the same and you fix the tops of the fractions, what you can do is you can cross out the bottom, the denominators, and then just solve. So what does that mean? Let's look at it. So number 1, here we go, my directions say to solve. I also know it's going to be a solve problem because I have an equal sign in here. If you look back at your notes, the other fraction problems that we did not have equal signs in them. So that's how you can know that this is a solving problem and not just one of the regular ones where we just combined fractions together, okay? So first thing that I would do for this is I would get common denominators. So let's look at the denominators. In number 1, I have a 3, I have a 4, the 7 doesn't have one written, but remember we know that when there's no fraction written, or when no denominator, we know that it's always 1, okay? So looking at these 3 denominators, the common denominator between them, hopefully you see, is 12. Okay, so for the first fraction, how did I get from 3 to 12? I times 4, right? So if I times 4 on the bottom, I have to times 4 on the top. So n times 4 is 4n. Here in the second fraction, how did I get from 4 to 12? I times 3. So times 3 on the bottom, times 3 on the top. N times 3 is 3n. How did I get from 1 to 12? I times 12 on the bottom, so I times 12 on the top. So when I times 12 on the top, I get 84, I believe. 84, okay? And so now I have 3 fractions that all have the same denominator. So my trick 3 here up on the top of where my cursor is right here, trick 3, if the directions say solve, or if you see that equal sign, the trick is that once you've fixed all the fractions and you've gotten all the denominators to be the same and you fix the numerators, I apologize, the trick is that you can cross out the denominators. Okay, so once you're able to fix all of the fractions and stuff and get all the denominators to be the same and get the numerators to be fixed or adjusted, you can cross out all of the denominators once you've gotten them the same and done all the fixing. And so if you cross them out, here's what you have. Again, remember the crossing out thing only works. It only works if you are able to if the directions say solve. Okay, and now this just becomes chapter 1 or chapter 2 problems. Combine like terms on the left side. 4n plus 3n is 7n equals 84. I'm going to run out of room here, but to solve for this now, you're trying to get n by itself, so divide by 7 on both sides. Okay, the 7's cancel out here, and then n equals 84 divided by 7 is 12. Okay, so answer for this one ends up being 12. Hopefully that's okay. Let's go to number 2 and see. So let's look at my denominators. I have a 3, I have a 5, my 2 has nothing, so let me put it over 1. Okay, so what is my common denominator between those 3? It's 15, right? Okay, so I go 15, 15, 15. How do I get from 3 to 15 in this first fraction? Times 5, so in this one I'm going to have to times 5. So the reason why I put it in a parentheses is because you're going to have to distribute that 5 into everything in that parenthesis, okay? Same here, I times 3 on the bottom. But when I times 3 here on the top, what I'm going to have to do is I'm timesing it to everything, the y plus 5. So I'm going to put a parenthesis because there's more than one thing I'm timesing it to. See, in number 1, there was only one thing. I just times 4, and then times 4 on the top, it's just to the n. In number 2, I have two things, a y and a -1, a y and a positive 5. So I have to put in a parenthesis, and so the thing I'm timesing it by goes on the little outside of the parenthesis, okay? And so I have 3 y plus 5. Okay, on this one, 1 to 15, I go times 15, so I end up with 30. Okay, and so what happens here, now what I can do is I've gotten all the denominators to be the same. I've fixed, for the most part, adjusted all the tops. So let's cross this out, and then let's solve now. So what do I have right now? Let's draw a little squiggly line so we can separate the two problems here. So I have 5, and then I have y minus 1 minus 3 y plus 5 equals 30. Okay, you're going to distribute, so distribute this 5 into there and into there. Distribute the negative, remember it's the -3. Okay, so distribute -3 into the y and to the 5. So if you forget to distribute the negative, your answer is going to be all weird, so don't forget to distribute the negative in there. So right here, the 5 into the y minus 1 is going to give me 5y minus 5. The -3 into the y plus 5 is going to give me -3y minus 15. And equals 30, nothing to worry about on the right side. Let's combine like terms. So I have 5y minus 3y, right here, 5y minus 3y is -2y. -5 minus 15 is -20. Let's start solving for y. So remember, to solve for y, what do? You are going to add 20 on this side, add 20 on that side. So the 20s go away. I still have a -2y on the left side. 30 plus 20 is 50. Now how do I solve for y now once I get to this point? Divide by -2. Divide by -2. Cancel. So answer for this problem is, excuse me, answer for this problem is y equals -25. Okay. So stuff you already kind of know how to do, just don't forget to don't forget to observe all of your rules with the distributing and the negatives and all of that. You should be good, okay? So let's go ahead and let's try number 3. Here's my number 3. Got a little lost in the work here. So here's number 3 right here, the one in purple. So let's rewrite this. Let's rewrite this maybe so that it's a little bit easier to see too. So I have x over 7 plus x over 3 equals 10. Looking at these guys, what's my common denominator? Remember, this is over 1. Maybe common denominator for this is 21. Alright, so to the 7, I times 3. So on the top, I'm going to times 3. So that turns into 3x, right? X times 3 is 3x. Then I have 3. To get from 3 to 21, I times 7 times 7, so I end up with 7x. To get from 1 to 21, I times 21 times 21. 10 times 21 is 210. Alright, here we go. The easy part, or the good part here, the fun part. I've gotten all of the denominators to match up. I've fixed all of the tops for the most part, so let's cross out that. Remember, why are we crossing it out? We're crossing it out because the directions told me to solve, and I also see an equal sign in the problem. Okay? What do I have now? I have a 3x plus 7x equals 210. Let's keep simplifying here. 3x plus 7x, if I combine those together, is 10x equals 210. Okay. How do I solve for x in this problem? Let's divide by 10. divide by 10. And so on this side I have the 10s cancel out. I'm just left with an x on the left side, so 210 divided by 10 is 21. Final answer for this is x equals 21. Alright, let's do one more together and then you can go and take your quiz and get the assignment done, okay? Here we go, last one for today. So here are my fractions. I have a 3a over 5 minus a over 2 equals 1 over 20. Let's go ahead and look at all of the denominators we have. We have a 5, a 2, and a 20. So if I'm looking at this, my common denominator I see is 20. Okay, so between the three of those guys, 20. Let's work on this first one. So to get from 5 to 20, I times 4. Times 4. 3a times 4 is 12a. 2 to 20 is times 10. A times 10 is 10a. 20 to 20, there's nothing. There was no change, so I don't have to do anything, and let's just rewrite that 1 on the top. Here's the fun part. I've gotten them all to match up. I fixed the tops, cross out all the bottoms, and let's rewrite. So 12a minus 10a equals 1. Let's combine like terms. So if I combine like terms, I have 12a minus 10a is 2a equals 1. And then to solve for this, how do I get a by itself? Divide by 2. Divide by 2. Cancel. A equals 1/2. And that's it. We're done. Okay, so that is the basics of how to solve when we have fractions. So we got to be good with our common denominator stuff, but other than that, if you can observe all the rules for common denominators and negatives and stuff, this is an easy lesson, I hope.